All right, so totally forgot that I should have been doing your homework tonight. Well, you should have been doing your homework tonight, but I should have been helping, and I forgot. So sorry. Anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Hopefully, you're not still awake watching it, but it is only 8:30, so it isn't super late. But if you're awake, you should probably do your homework and go to bed. Hey, I think that's Jatavia. Hey, girl. Hey. So I want to quickly go over your homework. We're going to do the evens, and it is pretty quick. But in class, we talked about a way to help us remember our place value, and we said, first of all, that we look at chunks. See, I remember you girls because I love you. Actually, I really do though. For reals, for reals, for reals. So what we talked about in class is that we can use the decimal and chunk. Decimals and commas can help us chunk. And so we can read what we see before the chunk and then what we see after the chunk. Yeah, we're a day behind you because of the behavior assembly. We lost a day there and we lost a day because I was out last week. So yeah, I know. You guys rock. That Mr. Redding. He is awesome. All right, so we just talked about, we look at the chunks, which are separated by decimal. When we see the decimal, we say the word, and we read the chunk, and then the place value of the last digit. So in this example, we have 0 and 287 thousandths. See, you rock. I'm telling you, your teacher is phenomenal. But the question is actually just asking us in this instance, what is the value of the underlying digit, which is the 8. And so in class, another strategy we talked about is we said T, H, T, tenths, hundreds, thousands. So we talked about, okay, TNT, if we watch cartoons, TNT is like a bomb. So TN, THT is tenths, hundreds, thousands. So when we look here, we again have T, H, T, tens, hundreds, thousands. And we see that the underlying digit is in the T, so T, H, T, tens, hundreds, thousands. This is in the 10th position, so we can say it is worth 3/10. And then I can represent that in a few different ways. As if I wanted to represent as a fraction, it would be, very good, it would be 3/10. And if I wanted to represent 3/10 as a decimal, it would be 0 and 3/10. Ta-da! I know. Earth-shattering, isn't it? Yep, it is. All right. So now let's, again, I only asked you to do even, so let's just continue moving on. And here, again, I'm going to look at my chunks. I have 9 and 154 thousandths. And because I call it thousandths because the last place value, THT, the 4's in the thousandths, so 9 and 154 thousandths. Again, this problem is only asking us, though, for the value of the underlying digit, and that 1 is in what place value? T, H, T, tenths, hundreds, thousands. Right, it's in the tenths place, so there's a 1 in my tenths place. 1 times 1/10 is 1/10, and represented as a fraction would be, very good, it would be 1/10, and as a decimal would be 0 and 1/10. Boom. All right, so let's move on to number 6. Again, when I look at this number, I want to look at my chunks that are separated by decimals or commas. In this instance, it's a decimal. So the first chunk is 7. I have 7 and 258 thousandths. So in this number 7 and 258 thousandths, what is the value of the 5? Again, T, H, T, tenths, hundreds, thousands. Since the 5 is in the hundredth spot, it's like saying 5 times 1/100th, which is equal to 5/100ths. Very good. And if I wanted to write 5/100ths as a fraction, it would be awesome. It would be 5/100. And as a decimal would be good. It would be 0 and put a 0 in my tenths place and the 5 in my hundredths. So this is 0 and 5 hundredths. All right, let's look at number 8. Again, I'm going to have you try this one on your own, but I have a number that's separated by chunks, so I have 6. When I see the decimal, I say, and next chunk, 821, place value of the last digit, thousandths. So my number would be 6 and 821 thousandths. And then again, that underlined digit, you want to figure out what is the value of it. I want you to try that one on your own. It's pretty simple, guys. We're moving right along on time. Let's look at number 10. I did only ask you to do evens. Okay, so it says write it in 2 other forms. So they give it to us in our standard form or base 10 number numerals. Base 10 numerals. Oof, that's a long word when I'm tired. All right. So there are 2 different ways we could say it. Again, let's look at chunks. We see the decimal, which tells us to say the word. And so I could say 0 and look at your next chunk. What's that next chunk? Right, 326. And the place value of the last digit? THT. Tens, hundreds, thousands, right. 0 and 326 thousandths, but just like we talked about in class, I don't say I have $0.56. We would just say I have 56 cents. So here, I don't have to say the 0 and, I could just say the number 326 thousandths. So 326 thousandths. And then if I want to write it in expanded form, I would just multiply it by each place value. My 3 is in what place value? Right, again, THT, tens, hundreds, thousands, and I'm just going to label it to help me remember. THT. My 3 is 3 times 1/10. Awesome. And my 2 is in the, very good, it's in the hundreds, so 2 times. Good, 1/100th. And then my 6 is in my, right, THT, tens, hundreds, thousandths. My 6 is in my thousandths position, so 6 times 1, 1,000th. So that's one way to write 326 thousandths. And the other way we talked about is I could also write it as a decimal. I could say, oh my gosh, see, you're already there. I could say 3/10 plus 200. So 0, 0 in my tenths, 2 in my hundredths. So 3/10 plus 200 plus, yes, 6 in my thousands. So tenths is empty, hundreds is empty, but the 6 in my thousands. So 2 different ways I can represent it. One is a fraction, one is a decimal. And just getting fluent with both, because we certainly know as mathematicians, we've got to be flexible with our number sense. So that's number 10. If you're in my class and you're viewing, you can submit the word meth with your name on it, and maybe I'll draw your name out for a special treat. Maybe I'll draw many names because I feel bad that I forgot to do your homework until so late. I'm like totally fired for that. Sorry, guys. All right, and this next one is the same exact concept. You're going to look at your chunks. So I have 0, and look at your next chunk. Say that whole number together. Don't think about anything else, but what is that number? Right, 924. So you have 0 and 924, and then you just say the place value of the last digit. What place value is that 4 in? Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, right? So it's 0 and 924 thousandths. And again, just like money, I wouldn't say I have $0.28. I don't necessarily need to say I have 0 and 924 thousandths. I can just drop the 0 and I can just say 924 thousandths. I'm not going to write that for you. I'm sure you're capable of writing that. But what I do want to once again do with you is this whole expanded form, because this is where people seem to get tripped up. So I have 924 thousandths, so I can multiply it by its place value. My 9 is in my tenths place, so 9 times 1/10. Awesome. And the 2 is in the THT. Tenths, hundreds, thousands. Right, it's in the tenths place. So 2 times, or it's in the hundreds place. Sorry, you got it. I didn't. It's in the hundreds place. So 2 times 1/100th. And then my 4 is in the thousands place. So 4 times 1/1000th. Awesome. And now I'm just going to take this and do the same thing. I can write it as a decimal. I can say 0 and 9/10 plus 0 and 200ths. So 0 in my tenths, put the 2 in the hundredths. So now I have 9/10ths plus 200ths plus 4 in my thousandths. So 0 is my whole, 0 in my tenths, 0 in my hundredths, 4. Now, and I want you to see that this makes sense. If you were to take this and line it up to add it by the place value, you would end up lining it up and you would get 0 and 924 thousandths. So it does work. It does make sense. It's just not something we're used to typically doing. All right, so the last one I asked you to do was number 14. And number 14 says in a gymnastics competition, Paige's score was that number, which I'm not going to say because I want you to figure it out because the question is going to ask you to write in word form. So I'm going to just say 37.025. What is Paige's score in word form? So again, we look for chunks, and our chunks can be separated by commas or decimals. In this instance, we only have a decimal. And I do know that when I see that decimal, it's going to tell me to say a special word, which is and. Good. So let's look at the first chunk. My first chunk, what number is that? Right, 37. So I'm going to write 37. And now I see that mathematical symbol that tells me to say what word? Good. And 37 and. Look at your next chunk. 025. Well, I'm not going to say 025. That number is actually right. It's 25. So 37 and 25. And then since we're in the decimal place, we always say the place value of our last digit, which is a 5. THT. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, right? So I have 37 and 25. Place value, thousandths. And again, thousandths is going to end with that THS. Boom. Ta-da! So if you watched the video, I did give you a word. Just submit that. I'll do a couple drawings for prizes. Jatavia, you're welcome to submit it too. I will give you something just because I love you for staying on, especially since you already did this homework. If you are my student and you choose to do the odds as well, because I only asked you to do the evens, if you choose to do the odds as well, I'll give you a treat for that as well, for going above and beyond, because let's face it, I'm a bubbly kind of person and I love you. Anyways, for everybody else, have a great night. I will see you tomorrow. And it is finally Friday. Whoa, whoa, finally Friday. You know. Bye, guys.